Friends, the powerful elite in Washington, D.C., in financial centers like New York and London, Hong Kong, and others, they sense something big is happening and they are trying to get ahead of it desperately. We've seen some major financial changes in the pipelines, the market plumbing, so to speak. Billions and billions and trillions of dollars at stake, and these massive commercial banks are starting to make some big shifts. And we're going to take a look at one in particular, one you may have heard of, called Blackrock, because they are buying gold suddenly. They're buying gold and other alternative investments, and if you take anything from this video, if you take anything from this channel, you need to be aware that the big interconnected big people out there really see something coming, and you need to be getting prepared for it as well. All right, friends, we're going to go through some of the details here. A lot of stuff about precious metals. Now, we'll talk a little bit about crypto as well, because we see some of these companies are starting to treat crypto assets as an alternative to dollars. But basically, USS dollar is starting to sink beneath the waves like the Titanic, and these banks and the powerful elite are trying to get their money out as fast as they can without causing a panic. But friends, I'm going to tell you what they're doing. I'm going to expose it, and you can be thinking about how you can be doing something similar. All right. So the most powerful financial institutions are buying gold. This is no secret. We saw this happening in the lead up to, and ever since July 1st, we've seen it only accelerate. Now, we haven't gotten the full schematics yet of what they did here in the month of July, because July's not over yet. But July 1st, we started to see the implementation of Basel III. Now, we warned you about that coming up into it, and a lot of channels like mine have warned you about how Basel III was going to change everything. Well, if you didn't know, Basel III got implemented on July 1st. Now, the biggest change that Basel III, this is a treaty and a financial plan, so to speak, the biggest thing that it did was it's an agreement of central banks across the world that they will accept gold as a tier 1 asset. Before that, it wasn't a tier 1 asset. And this is important because U.S. dollars are tier 1 assets, U.S. Treasury bills are tier 1 assets. But there's a very short list of what a tier 1 asset is. And this is what banks can basically trade back and forth. They can borrow money against, and they can, they can say we have X number of dollars because we have these tier 1 assets sitting in our vault. It's not promises of stuff. It's not, we kind of have some houses that we have mortgage deeds on. No, we're talking about physical assets that are literally sitting in a vault. Not somebody else's vault, their vault. These are called tier 1 assets, and gold just got added to it. Now, some other countries have treated gold like tier 1 asset before, but the United States was not treating it like a tier 1 asset. And some people were saying, when will the United States government reclassify the value of the U.S. Treasury Department's and Federal Reserve's gold? Supposedly, we have a whole bunch of gold sitting in Fort Knox. And let's just say the dollar value on that is estimated to be ridiculously low. That's because we still haven't pegged the price of gold to the current price of gold. And people are wondering, when are they going to do that? Well, now that gold is a tier 1 asset in the United States and in banks across the world now, everyone's in agreement, now might be the time where they start thinking about doing that. Now, I'm not talking about central banks. I'm talking about Blackrock. Now, we had a former Blackrock portfolio manager, Versan Al-Jara, came out and had some interesting things to say. Not only was he confirming that BlackRock is not only holding lots and lots of gold, but is continuing to load up on gold. Now, we can't see their gold holdings because that's a private thing, but we can see, sometimes we can kind of see their purchases, and they are purchasing. Now, not only that, But we also can see when they buy not gold per se, but when they buy stakes in gold companies. And they have been doing this consistently over the last number of months. Last year, they bought up a significant stake in Centerra Gold. In May, they acquired a 3.4% stake in Alamos Gold. In April, BlackRock acquired a 5% stake in Harmony Gold. They're buying up chunks of gold mining stocks. And this is significant. They're trying to diversify their exposure to it, but this really kind of indicates that they can't get their hands on enough physical gold. So what they're doing is they're going straight to the source and buying up the mining companies that have active gold mines. They are absolutely reaching out there and trying to get their hands on more gold. And they're not the only ones doing this. China is doing a very similar thing where they're not buying up the gold mines. What they're doing is they're going directly to the miners. They're going directly to the mines and they're buying up gold concentrate, silver concentrate, and they're buying up newly minted bullion from those mines. So the mines that can actually refine it down, they're buying it directly from the mines or directly from the refiners. So they're not allowing it go onto the markets, and they're just circumventing that, trying not to impact the price of silver or gold, particularly silver right now. And things are starting to spice up with the price of silver, with the availability of silver. Now, BlackRock is not just buying up gold, not just buying up gold stocks, but they are also diversifying into cryptocurrencies. They now have an ETF, which is owned primarily by other people. Other people give them money, then they use that money to buy up whatever that they're supposed to be buying up. In this case, Bitcoin. They have their Bitcoin ETF, and they are now holding 700,000 Bitcoins, which is a ridiculous amount of money, okay? Ridiculous amount of money. Not only that, but they are holding $300 million worth of Ethereum. So much so that they're actually holding 1.5% of all the Ethereum out there. That's another cryptocurrency, by the way. It's one of the larger cryptocurrencies. 1.5% of all Ethereum in circulation is actually held now by BlackRock. It's crazy. Now, I'm not a big crypto guy. I have my reasons why I'm not into crypto. I know some of you guys are into cryptocurrencies, and that's a great thing to be in if you're willing to take the risk and you're willing to take those, as long as you're willing to lose that money, right? Some people think that's going to be more stable, more safe than physical metals. I don't share that opinion, but hey, we all have our own money and we can do what we want with it. And I'm just a guy on YouTube's, right? So let's focus in on here on BlackRock. So they are picking up cryptocurrencies, right? Some of them for their own use, but a lot of them, they're basically buying them on behalf of other people. That's what the ETF does. Is so BlackRock doesn't actually own those Bitcoins, most of them. What they're doing is they're buying up the Bitcoins, and then people are essentially buying the rights to that Bitcoin. And there are mechanisms in which they can actually access those Bitcoins. But where we're really seeing the biggest action recently is in the COMEX exchange. Now, you got futures trading in COMEX in the United States, in Chicago, and then you have in New York, and you got London. London is a whole separate thing, but basically what's supposed to happen is if they think the price of COMEX is too high, the price of London is too high, what they can do is they can short on one of them and go long on the other one. So they sell over here when they don't have the asset, and then they buy it over here. So they have it over here, but they don't have it over here. And that's considered to be not a risky bet, because if the price of silver goes up, in this case, then their asset goes up a corresponding amount to their short position going down in value. So that's not considered that bad. But what we're seeing is a lot of these large banks out there are actually massively short on silver. Now, they were trying to control the price of gold, but companies were trying to control the price of gold, but countries broke the banks. And not only is China buying up gold, but Russia has, China is buying up a lot of silver too. Russia has just recently added silver to its strategic stockpile because to make weapons, modern day weapons, you need silver. And that's something that the United States used to have. We used to have a strategic silver stockpile, but then we decided that silver's not really mission critical anymore. We can get rid of that. And they sold off basically the entire strategic supply of silver. But every single smart weapon that we use uses silver. Every single satellite launch uses silver. Every single solar panel uses silver. And the industrial demand and military industrial demand for silver is constantly increasing. All right, so Russia added it to a strategic stockpile. India has bought nearly 800 million ounces in just the last 5 years. India is accelerating its purchases. China is accelerating its purchases. Everybody is stocking up on these precious metals. And the next battle to be fought is over silver. The commercial banks are still holding down the price of silver significantly. Steve, that's conspiracy theory. What makes you say that? Well, the largest short position on a commodity ever traded on COMEX is the short position currently on silver. And we know as we look over at the London exchange that they're not hedging over there. These banks are naked short. They've sold silver that they do not possess in the hopes that the price of silver goes down. If the price of silver goes up, they're going to have to buy that silver back at a higher price. And we're getting to the point where they're starting to get to the point where they're going to be forced to buy that silver back. And how much silver are we talking about here? Well, the short position of silver right now in the COMEX is 1 billion ounces of silver, which at given prices right now is like $37 billion, which is not something to sneeze at. Now, it's not the biggest number out there in the world, but $37 billion to these commercial private banks is a large number. And this is one of the reasons why we talk about Genesis Gold here on this platform. I've been saying precious metals. That's how I live. That's my investments is in precious metals myself. I'm not rich enough to get gold, but I like silver. I make no secret about that. And honestly, I'll keep saying that silver is still massively undervalued. It's being forced down by the commercial banks, but they're starting to lose control of it. They're down 1 billion ounces of silver short. That if it continues to go up a little bit more, they're going to be forced to start buying that back. To put that in perspective, last year, all the mines in the world produced approximately 822 million ounces of silver. 822 million ounces of silver came out of the ground, and these banks are short 1 billion ounces. So like basically if they just went out there and bought up all the silver coming out of the ground from all of those mines, all of it would not be able to cover their short position. And silver is not just people buy it and hold it. A lot of the silver that's coming out of the ground for industrial purposes is being destroyed. It's really just fundamentally dishonest what they're doing. And it's, ever since the Garden of Eden, Precious metals, gold and silver, have been mentioned like in the longest historical documents like the Bible. Gold and silver, some of the most ancient pyramids and the ancient writings on clay tablets in Mesopotamia mention gold. There's a reason why we talk about it being honest money. There's a physical reality to it. There's only so much of it, and you either have it or you don't. You can pretend like you have it, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. And that's why I like so much Genesis Gold, because their mission perfectly aligns with just what I say, right? That precious metals are probably the best way of protecting yourself from what's coming. These massive corporations, the central banks, they're all buying up gold. And it's only a matter of time before they start buying up silver too. We see countries are quietly buying up silver, but we don't see the central banks, we don't see the corporate banks really buying up silver yet, but that is to come. I imagine that's going to come up very, very shortly. Genesis Gold, they've built their foundation on the same principles of honest money, transparency, and integrity. And they believe in the value of hard work, right? And that's a lot of people have worked in this audience and built up IRAs, 401ks. You have retirement platforms built up. One thing I'd like to announce is just that Genesis Gold talked to me this week about something new that they've come out with. They've come out with a book that examines the Bible and gold and the historical background for gold in the Bible and what the Bible says about gold. It's authored by a gentleman called Alan Armstrong. And Genesis Gold is actually offering it free of charge to this audience. And they set up a website for us to go to poplargoldbible.com. So if you want to get your own free copy of the Bible and Gold, it's a book, and you want to discover how you can align your financial future with God's unchanging standards, they're giving that free of charge to you. You also get they'll also reach out to you and see if there's any questions that you'd like to have answered about retirement funds and getting into physical metals. We've talked a lot about here. Some of you guys have talked to them directly about those things, but they want to get this into your hands. They believe that this is important enough for Christians to consider, for non-Christians to consider, getting your retirement savings safe. So down in the pinned comment down below, I set up they set up for me a website where you can sign up and get your free copy of the Bible and Gold. If you like, you can also request other information from them. You can also reach out directly to chat with them about what it would look like to set up your IRA or 401k with them. However, make sure you mention this channel so they do waive your setup fee. All right, that's down in the pinned comment down below. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Yeah, definitely consider what you're doing with your retirement accounts. Consider what you're doing with your money that's not in retirement accounts. Precious metals are probably the way to go. That's what we're seeing these commercial banks do. That's what we're seeing these countries do. And my personal opinion on the matter, I think you should take a hard look at silver. But that's just me. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. If you want to get some more information, if you want to get that free copy of the book, I'll put a link right there on the screen. Just tap on that, fill out your information, and they'll send you a free copy of the Bible and Gold book. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up there. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report out.